Hello everyone, and welcome to, I think, your second last lesson about implementation for web design and development. So first of all, your starter as usual. I want you to try and spot 3 errors in this code. I've deliberately left it in the text editor rather than HTML format. 3 errors. You'll need to pause the video obviously and have a good look for those. That's your starter. Okay, today's lesson is all about precedence. Now, precedence is an important concept when adding styling to your web pages. So in other words, what is most important? What's going to take precedence? What's going to come ahead of what? Okay. Now you can style the same element in your web page using either external styling, internal styling, or inline styling. So in other words, you could use external styling with the CSS file to make your heading 1 have the color green. At the same time, you could have a style section at the top of your web page in the head section, and you could colour your H1 red. And you could do inline styling by adding the style, colour blue, into the actual H1 tag. Okay, so the words main heading, what colour are they actually going to be? And that's the main point of this lesson. What colour will actually take precedence? Would it be green, would it be red, or would it be blue? Okay, so precedence and overwriting. If there's more than one type of styling that we can apply to a specific piece of content, then how do we know which styling takes precedence? Well, there are levels of hierarchy within styling, and these are usually the external CSS is applied first, immediately overwritten by internal styling. If that is applied, it will then go over the top of any external styles. And then lastly, any inline styling, if we apply any of that, then they would add to, or they would overwrite. If it's the same element being styled, then it would overwrite it. Okay. Now this is the first basic rule that you need to understand about precedence. External CSS is the weakest, and that will get overwritten by internal styling in your style section. And then that in turn would get overwritten by inline styling, actually in the tag itself. Okay, so let's look at an example. Here's our CSS file. It's saying that the body background color is going to be red. The H1 is going to be the font family Comic Sans. It's going to be color yellow, and it's going to be text align center. You don't know this, but it's just the word stylish. So there we go. Background red, font color's yellow, it's Comic Sans, and it's centered. Let's look at the web page, because the web page has got some internal styling. It's got that the H1 is going to be the font family Verdana, and here's our H1, it's the word stylish. So none of this will change. The background colour will still be red, because that's there in the CSS file, but the font family Comic Sans will now change and will get overwritten to be Verdana. It's still going to be yellow, and it's still going to be in the centre. So it's going to look like this. Okay. Second example, second page. We've got our internal styling here, and this time the H1 is going to be aligned to the left, and the font size is going to be 200%. Here's the word, the H1 is stylish, and we've actually got some inline styling here. We're going to underline it. But let's have a look. The body, the background colour is red, nothing is overwriting that. The font family will be Comic Sans, nothing is overwriting that. The colour will be yellow, still. But the text align center, that is going to get overwritten by the internal styling text align left. And we've got a new one, font size 200%. So that's going to look like this. Over on the left, much bigger, but still yellow, still red background, and we've got this underline this time. Here's a third example. Here in our style section, we've got the H1, the colour is going to be green, and the body background colour is going to be yellow. But we've now got some inline styling where the colour is going to be purple. And we're still talking just about the word stylish. So up here we've got body background colour red, but that is immediately going to be overwritten by this. It's going to be yellow. We've got the font family is Comic Sans MS. Nothing down here to change that, so that's what it will be. It's got the text colour will be yellow. Well, no it won't, because this says it's going to be green. But, well no that won't, because it's going to be overwritten by the inline styling. So it's actually going to be purple. And then if we look back here, it's going to be aligned center. and nothing is overwriting that. So we end up with yellow background, purple writing, centered, and Comic Sans. Now, these are a common exam style question where it will give you some things and you've got to try and work out what the actual piece of text will look like. You would have to say what colour it would be, what the background would be, etc. Very, very common question. But that's not the end of the story, because now we know all about classes and IDs and we know how to use them for styling. But there's two important points here. First of all, class and ID selectors trump external and internal styling. So if you're using a class or an ID to come up with the background, body background colour or an H1 colour, then that will overwrite any styling that you've already got in your external CSS file or your internal style section. And then within our classes and our IDs trump class. So if you use an ID to colour something, then that will overwrite if you've used a class to colour something. So let's see how we get all these different background colours superseding each other. Now I've come up with a little web page, West Highland Way, and I'm going to show you now how I can play about with all of these. So here's my web page, West Highland Way, and here is my notepad file. Okay, now I've actually added a little bit extra here. Just thought I'd quickly mention, I put lots of internal hyperlinks here. It's a big long web page. You can see here it's a long web page. And if I wanted to go to the Bridge of Orchy to King's House, I've actually added in one of these links within the page. So if I click there, it takes me to Bridge of Orchy to King's House. And once I've looked at my pictures and read my bit of blurb, I can then go back to the top of the page. And I could choose to go somewhere else. Maybe, oh, how about Rowerdene into Inverarnon? Click on there, and that takes me to that section. I can go back to the top of the page. And you can pause the video and have a look. You can see how this has been done here. These are the links here, Milngavie to Drimmen over here, so ahref, and that has been linked to the ID stage 1, and here is the ID stage 1 for Milngavie and Drimmen. So that's actually on this H3 here, okay, that heading there, and that's the link. And I've done the same thing in each of them where I put in a top of the page link, which is linked up to my heading at the top, West Highland Way. So if I was to just randomly go down, if I click on this, click here to go to top of page, it's going to take me up to there. So I've left that there. Don't want to explain it too much, but you can certainly pause the video and have a wee look over that and make sure that you understand that part. But what we're looking at today is how we can colour in our background. So the first way and the weakest way is we're going to go to our external CSS file and we're going to colour in our background. So let's make it red. Body, background colour, red. Save my file and refresh my page. There it is, it's red. Great. Not going to change that into the home page. Here's my style section. So I'm going to add some code in here. Oh, that jumped a bit far. There we go. And this time I'm going to style it orange. Okay, body background colour orange. Save that file, refresh it, and it's orange. So this style, the internal styling, has overwritten the red colour from there. But let's take that a step further and we'll go for our inline styling. Now it's the body. So in the body, I need to add style equals background colour yellow. I've still got background colour orange here, and I've still got background colour red here. Let's save the files and refresh, and yes, it's yellow. Okay, so it's been overwritten. Now, what I'm actually going to have to do is I'm going to have to delete that to keep demonstrating, because that's the one that will supersede absolutely everything else. So what I'm going to do is now I'm going to add a class. Now I'm going to add a class to the body, and I'm giving it the class main background. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to use that class in the CSS file. Okay, so there's my class, main background, and I'm going to make the background colour green. Okay, save all my files and refresh. And yes, it works, it's gone green. Okay, But next, what I'm going to do is I am going to use that class selector in my style section, my internal styling. And this time I'm going to try and make it blue. And let's see if that supersedes the class that I used in the CSS file. So save everything. And yes, it does. That's now blue. Okay. But the other thing I said was that our IDs are even more important than our classes. So I'm going to add an ID to the body. Now I've actually given it the same name, and you can do that. If one's a class and one's an ID, you can give it the same name. So let's go and use that ID in my external file. Okay, so there's the hash, main background. This time we're going to make it background color indigo. Save everything. Refresh. There we go, indigo. Really dark purple. Okay, and then we can, second last one, we can now use our ID internally to make it violet, which is going to overwrite the ID in the styles file. Save all our files, refresh, and yes, it has gone violet. Okay, and then last one. What's the strongest one of all? The strongest one of all is inline styling. So I'm adding style in my body part, background color. I'm going to make it white. Okay, save everything, refresh, and it's back to white. Okay, so that was a very, very quick demonstration, which I want you to reproduce for me, of putting in all these different bits and pieces to show you how everything supersedes each other. So back to this. Okay, so all the different background colours superseding each other. We started with red, and then orange and yellow and green and blue and indigo, and then violet, and then finally white. Okay, all my rainbow colours. And here's a summary of all those precedences. External CSS first, that's my red one. Internal style section. Then you could use the class selector in the external CSS file. Then you could use the class selector in the internal style section. Then you could use the ID selector in the external CSS file. Then you could use the ID selector in the internal style section. And finally, the one style to rule them all is inline styling. If you put your styling into the actual tag, that will overwrite everything. Okay? So your practical task today, up until Wednesday, is to add styling using precedence. So using your country home web page and your styles.css file, so only working on your home page. First of all, clear any body background colour styling that you've got already. I don't know how you've done it, but just clear that away. And then work your way through all the various styling options listed on the previous slide and take little snips. Now, in this case, I don't want you to just do copy and paste. Just use the snipping tool, take little snips of the relevant bit in your code, and then also a little snip of just the very top of your page, just the wee heading part, showing it changing colour each time. So there'll be sort of one document that'll have all 7. Now what you could do is you could basically have, you could list these out, and then underneath each of them just put a little snip of your little bit of code, and then a snip of what that did to the very top of your page, and then your little bit of code, etc. Okay, so that's your Word document. Then there's more, because there is a task sheet for you to do. Now this is exam style questions based on HTML and CSS. Okay, so I'll just show you what that looks like. This one here. Okay, so it's just out of 16 marks, and basically it's got some sort of exam style questions that I want you to mind to put your name and your class in, and I want you to send that to me as one of your submissions. Okay, let's get rid of that. And then there is something else for you to do. Because finally, I have got a revision task for you. Now, it's a forms quiz, revision task 11, and it's actually revision of analysis, design, and implementation so far. Okay, so let me show you that, where you can find it. you're going to be able to find that on the Teams page. Now, I can't show you the general page because it's got people's names there who've been making comments, but if you go into the National 345 Computing Science team, and if you look at the top, normally you're in posts and files. Remember, I've been sharing all the different files with you. But if you go along here, here is the quiz, and you just need to click on that, and the quiz will appear for you, Revision Task 11. Now, all of the questions are required. I'll tell you now that there are 35, although one of them is actually entering your name and class. So please put in your full name and class. I've split it up into little sections, so you can go forward, forward and back, just in case you're doing it on your phone. But please try and do it through this, through Teams. It'd be a lot easier if you do it through Teams. I am reminding you of your code to join the team. If you haven't already done that, that's shocking. Why on earth not? But I'm also going to put the URL to just go straight to the quiz as well. Okay, so if you could get that done for me and submit that, that will be absolutely everything that I need you guys to do for me. Okay, so in summary, starter, your practical task, some exam style questions, a kind of multiple choicey one-wordy type quiz, should be quite quick of revision. And that's it for the beginning of this week. Thank you very much, guys. Take care. Bye bye.